Hi, welcome to my channel and welcome back if you've been here before. I'm Christy Z from Zeal Studio and Zeal Vintage on Etsy, and today I'm thrift flipping. Ow! So something I do a lot of when I have or I find really cool extra large t-shirts when I'm thrifting is I make them into bodysuits. So this is basically what we're making today. Not this exact one, obviously. But this is like my favorite one because, hi, Mr. T. Who doesn't love Mr. T? And I just cannot get enough wear out of this in the summertime, especially in a heat wave. I just throw this on with a pair of shorts and good to go. You can dress it up with a kimono, you can dress it up with a blazer, super versatile, comfy, and yeah. So today we're thrift flipping some vintage shirts into bodysuits, and I'm going to show you how I made this. From this. So thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this video or you'd like to see more DIY videos. I'm going to be doing some more thrift flips. I do have a bunch of vintage backstock that needs to be like tweaked because, you know, it's stuff that has like good fabric or, you know, it's good, but it just like needs to be like, I don't know, updated or made cooler. So I've got an entire pile of vintage stuff that we're going to be thrift flipping, and we're going to start with bodysuits. So come on, let's do it. So first I cut the sleeve off on both sides, and then I just cut up the side of the seam, and that way when I'm cutting the bathing suit, I can cut it separate on each side just so that way it gets even. Otherwise, if I just try and fold it without cutting it up, it's probably going to be all bunched up inside. So yeah, that way we're just going to use it more like fabric, and then we're going to cut our one piece out of that. Okay, so now I have basically two pieces. The front piece, which I've cut the sleeves off and cut up the sides and the shoulder hem. And then the back part, which is the same thing. And that's basically what I'm going to cut the bathing suit out of. Okay, so what I've done is put the pattern, this is a pattern I've had for quite some time. I actually haven't used it in quite a few years. I did have to cheat it right up here. I just kind of snuck a little fold in there because of this collar. I couldn't just like cut like that, so I just snuck it over to the side a little, which is fine. Hopefully that shouldn't affect the fit. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a front and a back and then whip them together. Alright, now I've got my front piece cut out. It looks a little big, but once you sew it, that's because there's seam allowance, obviously. And then a back piece, and I'm basically just going to stitch them together and hem the seams, and I might give it a little quick try just to make sure the crotch is not too long, because I always find it's better to leave a little bit of crotch space just in case, especially because, you know, I don't want everything to just fit myself, especially if I'm making it for my shop. So yeah, I'm going to stitch these two together and see how it looks. This is actually the first time I've whipped out my sewing machine since the beginning of the pandemic. And at that time I was just sewing like masks because I had fabric and I had elastic and people could not get masks. So I did sew a bunch of masks for like my friends, my family, to sell, to donate. We donated masks to the Canadian Blood Services, to local senior centers, and that was probably the last time I had my sewing machine out. So yeah, and P.S. I just woke up. I haven't even finished my coffee yet, but I wanted to show you, so in this, I'm going to be using a pattern that I made for my own bodysuits, but if you don't have a pattern, you can just, I'm just going to pull back here a little bit, there we go. So if you don't have a pattern, you can just take your favorite, like whether it's a dance leotard or a one-piece bodysuit or whatever, and then what you're going to do is you're going to fold it in half, and do so very carefully to make sure you've got all the fabric sort of, you know. So basically you just fold your suit in half, and then you're going to place the middle section, so this section, so if you can see if it's folded in half like this, okay, then you're going to place, let's see, the middle section, which would be this part here, on the fold of your fabric that you've cut from your t-shirt. And yeah, you just place it along the fold of your fabric, make sure the middle part is on the fold, and that's your pattern. I don't know if you know, but you can make patterns from other clothes, which is basically how I learned how to pattern. I mean, it's just, you know, it's kind of one of those cheap things that really helps out, especially when you're learning. So, you know, if you have an old or one that fits you really well that you like, a bathing suit, this is going to be your pattern. If you don't have a one-piece pattern, you could also use a pattern that you get from the thrift store or one that you have laying around. So that's what you do if you do not have the one suit pattern or a bodysuit pattern like I use. Just take something that already fits you, fold it in half, and you're going to basically put that folded part on the fold of the fabric, and then you're going to cut around the bathing suit. That will be your template. Here's another one that I made that I wear all the time in the summertime. It's made from, oops, it's inside out too. This one's made from my ex-husband's t-shirt, but actually I made it quite a long time ago, so you probably recognize this t-shirt. I think it's from like a mall store. But yeah, I make these all the time out of like giant t-shirts because they go so well with shorts and they're super comfy. So, hey, no, that looks terrible. They're super comfy, especially because they're cotton, and when you're using a really old t-shirt, the cotton is so soft. You know, so comfort is built right in to this project. And yeah, so I'm at the point now where yesterday night I cut my t-shirt up, I put my pattern, I cut it, I've just pinned it and tried it on, and that was not fun. I was like, ow, 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 ow. Yeah, trying stuff on with pins, not fun. And I just need some coffee because, as I mentioned, oh crap, I forgot my coffee upstairs. Okay, never mind. I guess I'll have to run back up and grab it. So I've already cut and pinned it and tried it on. So I'm good with the size of it because I think if I make it any smaller and it shrinks, it's not gonna fit me. And I've done that before where I've like made it too small and then I'm like, oh, So sometimes it's better to cut it just a little bit bigger than you think, and then you can always take it in if you have to. You can always, you know, adjust your seam allowances, that sort of thing. So let's get on with our Pac-Man thrift flip, and then I can show you what it looks like once it's done. We just basically have to sew up the sides, and I'm gonna sew up the butt, the seams of the butt and the crotch first, and then sew up the sides and the shoulder, and we're done. So for the seams along the butt and the crotch, I've given a pretty generous seam allowance here. So I've probably got like a 1-inch seam going on here. And what I basically do is turn it over twice and then zigzag stitch along the areas of the butt, and also the same for the crotch area. But we are gonna sew up these seams first. So you wanna sew your butt and your crotch seams first before you sew your side seams, which you can see I have pinned together. Let's do it. And then we'll sew our shoulder seams. Sorry, my lighting in here is, there we go, that's better. So yeah, I just pinned it, I tried it on. I'm gonna do these butt and crotch seams, just because it's far easier to do it before you sew up the side seam and make that circular shape. It's a lot easier just to do this one and then do the back one as well, as you can see, which I've pinned the hem on the butt. So we're just going to do those by folding over twice and doing a zigzag stitch, and then we're going to sew up this side of the bathing suit and the shoulder and the crotch. Easy peasy. Okay, so I'm going to hem the butt area. Alright, so I've done one butt cheek, and as you can see, I've basically done a 1/4 inch hem doubled over and just zigzag stitch that on the butt so it's good and solid. And you do want to use a zigzag stitch or it won't stretch over your butt. Although I am going to use just I think a straight stitch on the sides, because otherwise it's going to look wobbly. You do want your butt and your crotch to be zigzag stitched, because you kind of want the stretch to, you know, have a little more stretch in those areas. All right, let's do this. We just got to finish up the butt, sew up the sides, and sew up the shoulders. So again, I'm going to fold this in a 1/2 inch. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. So I'm folding it in 1/2 inch, and then I'm folding it in, or sorry, a 1/4 inch, and then another 1/4 inch. For me, a 1/4 inch is almost like a 1/2 inch, though. I'm pretty generous with my seams. Okay. Back stitch once, because you know what, you don't need like 5 back stitchings on there, because if you do want to take it out, good luck, it's gonna be difficult. Okay, that side's done. Let's do the other side. This is actually coming together pretty quickly, although I started really late last night, and yeah, I was too tired to finish it because I think it was, 11 o'clock or so, and I'm like, an early bird who goes to bed fairly early. Okay, sorry, I just want to make sure I'm seaming it the right way, because we're pinning facing, which means right sides together. So you're gonna seam this way out. I'm just gonna unpin these two. Ouch. I'm getting poked by pins. Ouch. I'm just take my pins out because I know where I'm gonna stitch. I don't need them. And they're poking me. All right, now we're gonna do the front crotch because I've done the back butt. And we'll just get that out of the way. And yeah, here we go. Okay, so now we're going to sew up this side seam, and we're going to hem our armholes, I think, after we sew the shoulder. So we're going to sew the side seam, the shoulder, and the crotch, because we've already hemmed the front and the bum part of the crotchal butt area. So it's almost done. Go along here, we're gonna do the shoulders, we're gonna do the crotch, and then we're gonna come back and hem the armhole. Ta-da! All right, there, it's done. From a baggy t-shirt to this. I think it's gonna look really cute. I can't wait to try it on. Almost, I just sew on Pinky's head a little bit, and the blue one. Was that Inky? I don't remember his name. It's been a long time since I played Pac-Man. But I think it looked really cute, and I really like how this project turned out. I'm gonna give it a try on and see how it looks. So this is how the project turned out, and I'm pretty happy with how it ended up looking. Normally I would actually cut the chest area a little bit lower, just, you know, but I think it looks really cute. I can't decide if I'm actually going to put it in my shop or not. I'm sorry, but sometimes when I make stuff, I'm like, oh, I'm going to make this for my shop, and then I'm like, no. Especially because, you know, with the Pac-Man, it's so cute, and the white cotton fabric, super comfy. And yeah, you can make this out of an old t-shirt yourself. So I do love how it turned out. I think it's super cute, and I love, of course, white for summer and the vintage Pac-Man. I think it looks so much better than the t-shirt, and you can make this yourself, of course, from an old t-shirt. And now I know there are certain parts that I kind of didn't show, because it actually takes a lot longer to sew than to show. But for example, like the front and the back, so the front was actually a little bit bigger than the back. It's kind of a bit of a cheeky pattern that I've got going on. But yeah, if you're not sure how to finish it, oh, there we go. So as you'll see, one part where it's joined is a little bit bigger. The one thing I would say is try and taper each side when you're cutting it, so that even if one side is bigger, that when you join them, that the seam area is the same size, because what I had to do is basically just cheat that. And I did that by just tucking it in a little bit at the sides. It's pretty hard to see. It wasn't a big deal, but yeah, sometimes you can just cheat stuff like that too. As I said, if you haven't made that portion and the front portion the same size, you can also just take the seam in a little bit when you're sewing the crotch. But other than that, yeah, if you're not sure how to do maybe some of that part, like just joining the crotch and how you finish it inside. For example, normally I would turn this part, this seam. I actually made this seam too short in my pattern, so I didn't have enough fabric to turn it, and normally I would sew down these seams right here. So I would just probably turn that down and zigzag over it to finish it at the crotch, because you don't really want this part, you know, being uncomfortable there. So yeah, I'm probably still going to do that actually, and just turn these and sew down the sides just to make it a bit more finished in the crotch area. But yeah, I'm not sure that this one's going to make its way to my shop, because I actually really like it, and I may have to keep it. Sorry, not sorry. But you can, again, certainly make your own from a large t-shirt. And why it's important to, you know, save t-shirts and reuse them and recycle them is because, you know, I think fashion puts something like 2.5 billion tons. I don't know if it's tons or pounds. It's a big difference. I'm pretty sure it's tons of waste into the environment every year, and the average person, you know, really throws out a lot of stuff that is quite reusable. So not only is it sustainable, but I think it's super fun, and I hope you liked this project. I hope it inspires you to make something for yourself out of an old t-shirt. Even if you didn't want to make the bathing suit, you could just make that part. You know, if you don't want to fuss with this part, you could just cut your pattern right there and just make a cute little crop top out of it, or, you know, whatever you want. Use your own creativity to create something new and totally fun out of something that's completely reusable. So thanks so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this. Please hit like and subscribe if you'd like to see some more. I do have an entire little pile of vintage stuff that really needs to get flipped. So we're going to be doing some more vintage thrift flips, and I hope you'll join me for that. Thanks so much. Stay safe. Be well.